Hello and welcome to another edition of 3A Composites Live Learning. My name is Alan Plunkett. I've been traveling across this entire country for the last 15 years trying to learn everything I can about wide format printing. Today we're here in Central New Jersey, a good stone's throw away from the iconic Stone Pony. If you're not familiar with the Stone Pony, it's the birthplace of rock and roll legends like Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, Bon Jovi, and of course the great one and only Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. But today we're here at the My Press Needs Research and Development Facility to watch them cut up a bunch of 3A composites material. So come on inside, meet my buddy Rob, and we'll have a blast learning a little bit about die cutting today. All right, here we are inside My Press Needs with my buddy Rob. Rob, we've known each other for 5, 6, 7 years. Anything die cutting in North America, this is the go-to guy. Today we're going to cut foam core, we're going to cut Gator Foam, Gator Blast, Cintra, and lastly our new DISPA paper-based material with the best in the business, and then I'll let Rob run with it from here.
Yeah, and you're going to see us use multiple dies. We have 3 dies made with 3 different types of roll. We have your traditional premium ground edge roll, non-serrated. We have a serrated knife with, we call this our fine steak knife. It's a fine serration. And then we have our coarse steak knife, a coarse serrated knife. So with the coarse serrated knife, we're going to use this for a lot of the foam boards. The finer serrated knife we're going to use for some foam boards, and particularly thinner foam boards and paper products. And then the ground edge we can use for some thin foam, but specifically for the Cintra.
All right, so we're going to start first off with age-old tested foam core invented in 1957 by 3A Composites. Here you go, Rob.
Okay, so today we're going to cut the foam core using what I call a fine serrated blade. We're using our blue soft cut pads. When you're using the serrated blade, which is preferable for a lot of the foam core products, because it gives you a nice clean edge, you cannot cut steel to steel. So we're cutting with our blue soft cut pads. We have a National 937 high ZMR blade, which is the fine steak knife. Okay, now you notice, nice cut, it's quiet cut. And we focused on very good edge quality. So we have no flat crush, meaning that the ejection rubber didn't crush the material, the knife didn't crush the material. It's very clean, inside and out. Now, when you cut this steel to steel, which we will do later, oftentimes you're going to get more of a pillow-in effect, because a steel to steel knife is what we call pinch and burst. It's compressing, pinching, and then the material bursts or explodes. With the setup you see here, using a fine steak knife, I'll call it, into a urethane cutting pad, we're pinching and we're just shearing through the material. We're not compressing and bursting. That's why you don't see the compression on the material itself. And with the ZMR, you see a beautiful non-serrated edge.
Next up, we're going to cut our brand new DISPA board, 100% paper-based product, blue bin recyclable on the back end. And now Rob's going to show you how easy it is to die cut.
Okay, for this material, you can cut steel to steel or soft cut. For now, we're going to show you the soft cut, which is using that fine steak knife I mentioned earlier into our urethane cutting pad. And we'll be able to explain the difference between both cuts. So once again, it's a very quiet cut because we're not pinching and bursting. We're not getting the edge crush. It's very clean inside and out. So this is our soft cut. Now we can compare this to our steel to steel cutting as well.
Is that not crazy? All right, next up we have good old Gator Foam that Rob's going to put on the press.
Okay, so this material has a wood material on top of the foam. We have our fine serrated knife in the machine. Now, what we do at this lab is R&D, and I would say right now this is R&D. I think we're probably going to see some crush, which is what we aim to eliminate. So we're going to try it with our fine steak knife. If this doesn't work, then we're going to try our more aggressive steak knife, which will have even less pressure to get through the material and see what quality of a cut we can achieve. so very quiet cut. Cut all the way through. One thing you'll notice if you're watching these videos from the foam core to the paper products to this material is I've not changed any press adjustments. And that's one of the benefits of soft cut, which is serrated knife in glue pad, is it lowers the tonnage, allows you to do more. Now in this material, you can see we are getting cracking, right? So the wood is cracking around the edge. On the inside, we're not. It cracked on the waist side. So as we look at designing this, with this rule, and I don't think this is the right rule, but we could take into consideration if we wanted this improved with this rule. For example, if this was the only rule we had and we had to get this job out, we could turn the rule around waist side opposite and you would have a pretty nice looking part.
And some people say this can't be die cut. Next up we have Gator Blast. You see this everywhere at retail, very popular in store. A lot of people say you cannot die cut it, but that's why we're here today with Rob. He's going to show you how well this can die cut.
Okay, Alan, the Gator Blast, typically a foam product, we would recommend an 8-tooth, a more aggressive knife. However, we're really looking at that edge quality. So this is a thinner foam core. We're going to continue with our ZMR, which is the fine steak knife I was mentioning in previous videos. So first reaction is very quiet. No crush. And I would say a beautiful edge quality. What I want you to notice is there's no serrations. So that might be counterintuitive because we're using a serrated blade. This is a special ZMR knife from National. There are others out there. Just think fine steak knife right now, but there's no serrations. So as you compare this to other cutting methods, perhaps tables, die cutting, of course, is incredibly fast. And we are getting the edge quality that I believe the industry wants in terms of no crush and quality of the edge.
That is beautiful. And this is foam core.
Okay, now we're going to die cut foam core. You may have seen the video where we cut blue. So what I'm doing is we're cutting, blue is a softer pad, orange is a harder pad. We're using a micro or a fine serrated blade. That's why we're using cutting pads. We're getting closer to the hardness of steel. So a lot of you may cut with a ground or a skived edge roll, steel to steel. We're getting there. So we went from blue, call it soft, orange, we're going to call it harder, and then last we'll test this steel to steel. So if you've noticed in previous videos, if you could hear it, the orange was a little louder because it's a harder surface. So the cut was a little bit louder. We're cutting at 16 tons for this circle. And you can see still a nice edge and still no crush.
That's the key, no crush. Next up, we've got good old Cintra.
Okay, Cintra is typically a product where you want to heat the material itself, to relax it from cutting. Right now, we're going to cut cold. We're going to cut on the orange pad, which is getting closer to the hardness of steel to steel. Next up will then be steel to steel cold, and then we'll also cut Cintra steel to steel with heat. Okay, so you can see Cintra's cut cold. You can see some serrations. Not terrible. Something that you could look at. But we'll proceed now with cutting steel to steel and then steel to steel warm. Okay, so we've seen the quality of the die cutting, no crush, nice edge, not a rough serrated knife. So the question is, why die cut and why not use another method like a digital cutter? And the answer is speed. We're 30 to 70 times faster on average, and that has to do with how many linear inches of rule or of image needs to be cut. So on a digital cutter, it takes time. You have to slow down in arcs and radiuses and concentrated areas. Whereas in die cut, you can come up, you hit.
How amazing is that? That is 10 pieces of foam core in just over 30 seconds. We're back in central New Jersey at the My Press Needs Research and Development Facility with my buddy Rob. We've worked on a variety of different 3A composite products, even one secret product that we're not allowed to talk about yet. But we want to let you know it's not just for simple circles, shapes that could do some more intricate designs. Here's Rob.
Yes, and in the R&D world, we have a partnership with National Silver Roll. We're developing a new roll that we really can't talk about yet either, but it gives you very complex cutting. If you notice the fingers, the eyes, the mouth in the foam board. So keep an eye out for new roll that's being developed as we speak, as we're always working to improve, eliminate edge crush, improve edge quality, and improve die cutting speeds on your material.
All right, now we're back with another cut of Cintra, a different kind of cut.
Yes, we're cutting Sintra with a premium ground roll, and we're cutting against our orange pads, which is the closest to cutting steel to steel. We will cut steel to steel. The benefit of the orange pad is it protects the edge of the knife, and it reduces tonnage. Okay, so we have a nice quiet cut, and the edge is pretty good. Now, we can also work on the next cut where we'll heat the material.
Look at that, is that sharp? And now we're gonna do a steel cut with Cintra.
Okay, we're gonna cut steel to steel with a premium ground roll, cutting steel to steel. Right now we have no make ready in the machine, and it's cold. Okay, so that's cold. The edge quality is actually very good. Slight radius on the side where the knife enters, which is typical. Square finish on the back.
Look at that. Now this is paper-based, 100% paper-based Dispa being cut steel to steel.
And once again, we're using a premium, and I stress premium ground edge. You don't want to use a skived edge when you're cutting compressible materials like the Dispa, like the foam cores, because you want that material to pierce and get into the material. A skived edge is going to, it's like a sharp butter knife. It's just going to push and squeeze, and that's when you get exaggerated pillowing. Okay, so we did cut this nicely with a premium ground edge. So you have two methods of cutting: traditional, ground edge, or soft cut.
And now we're gonna die cut Cintra with the Platen Heater on to warm up the material.
Yes, Alan, and the idea of the Platen Heater is to relax the material. We find with Cintra, some companies, and you included, may have done this, where you heat the material under a conveyor belt with heaters, put it on your die cutter, but it's counterintuitive. But sometimes when you heat the material, from the time that you heat it and put it on a die cutter, even in summertime, that heat gets drawn out of the material almost instantaneously. Like I said, it's counterintuitive. One thing we can do is heat the platen to eliminate that. Now I'm heating the platen, and you can see my hands on it, it's just warm. The idea, again, is just to relax the material. And I think you'll see that the edge quality is even better.
It's definitely the best die cut I've seen on the Cintra is with this method. And now we're going to die cut Cintra on a dual heated platen.
Okay, we're doing pure R&D now, I would say, in that the Crest, which we call our embossing press, has heat on the moving platen and heat for the die. Traditionally, it's common to heat the die. We're hoping, our intent is to be able to heat the material, relax the material, and then heat the die, have the proverbial hot knife through butter to see if it improves the edge quality, which this would then drastically improve productivity if you could put cold Cintra on a warm platen, even if we had to sit it there for a second or two to let the heat transfer, and then die cut with a heated knife. We lost our trim there, but now what I'm noticing, I'm still getting a little bit of a radius, but it's reduced. And that cut looks like a hot knife through butter.
So how fun was that? Today we cut up a lot of different 3A composite materials here at the My Press Needs Research and Development facility with Rob. Had a total blast. Thank you, Rob. And you wanted to talk about some of this?
Yeah, my pleasure, Alan. Yeah, so die cutting offers a lot of benefits. Most obvious is production speed. Today we used 3 different types of cutting knife. We used a very aggressive steak knife. This is National Super 8. This is what you would die cut your delicate materials, your thicker foam boards, anything that has a low compression where you don't want to crush it. Okay, so that's a Super 8. The ZMR is our fine steak knife. You've heard me refer to it. It's a serrated knife. We cut this as well as the Super 8 on the soft cut pad system. This is what I would call our general all-purpose knife. We can cut corrugated, we can cut the foam boards, we can even cut Cintra. The opportunities are almost endless with this material, but it is soft cut. And last, we have the traditional ground rule. This is a premium ground rule, which is significant. Tooling matters. You want quality knife. This rule allows you to cut much of the material, especially the Cintra, cutting steel to steel, or you can cut with the orange soft cut pads. But for your general application, for your existing machinery, good ground rule, steel to steel, you can cut most of these products.
Thanks to Rob and My Press Needs for allowing us here today. I learned a ton. Hope you did too, and we look forward to seeing you next month on 3A Composites Live Learning. Thank you.